Our meeting tonight is now open for sharing testimonies of healing through Christian Science. Jeremy.
A few months ago, my truck wouldn't start, and I had to call roadside service to get it jump-started. The process of jump-starting it made it so that the driver's side window wouldn't go down anymore. After having a local shop replace the battery, they said that the window motor needed to be replaced, and we could schedule it for another time. I let them know I was hoping it was just the fuse, but they said they checked, and so I just dealt with it not working in the meantime. I started feeling after that something wasn't right with their assessment of the situation, however, and so I found a YouTube video that showed how and where to check the fuses in my truck. After replacing the appropriate fuse, the window works again. I'm very grateful for all I've learned here about listening to God, because it ended up that where mortal minds said it was a $900 plus job to fix, I only paid $6.50 for the fuse. And it isn't just the money that I'm grateful for, of course, but it's the way that careful prayer and listening with spiritual sense made it so I wasn't fooled by error. And that feels so priceless to me. So I'm just very grateful for all I am learning here and for how Christian Science is a great benefit in all areas of life. I'm grateful for regular practitioner support, which has helped me to take these teachings in and make them my own. And I'm grateful for tonight's readings. Thank you. And now we have a testimony from Imogen in Australia.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for this glorious testimony meeting tonight. I would like to thank the Church of the Living God, dearest Plainfield Independent Christian Science Church. Thank you for all the many learnings and blessings that we are freely given here. I will always remember the very first testimony that I submitted here. I typed it out and emailed it to this church, but based on many past experiences before coming here, I never thought anyone would read it or be in the slightest bit interested. How wrong I was. How I sobbed as I listened from Australia to my words being read out by dear Jeremy. That meant so much to me, to find a church who welcomed everyone and was loving to everyone. In life, I had always prided myself on being tough, a strong woman of my own will, a woman who could take care of herself. I didn't need any help from anyone, or so I thought. But God found His precious way into my heart at every tough experience. And through the teachings at this church, I have come to realize that it was not my doing that brought me out of a violent childhood. It was God. And it was not my doing that healed all those wounds, both physical and emotional. It was God who did these things, who cleansed my spirit, who cheered my heart, who made me new all over, who wiped all my tears away, and brought love into my life. And truly, it was at those most toughest times that I most clearly felt the Christ. A couple of years ago, my practitioner at this church encouraged me to make a covenant to God. My promise of how I will love Him and serve Him, obey Him, and do His will. One of those promises that I made was to always have a testimony ready each week. If it wasn't needed, well and good, but the promise was that I would have my testimony ready to go each week. Now, this promise has been both such a very great joy and also a very great struggle. Error would try to dissuade me, make me think it was all for nothing, but thanks to the pure Christian Science teaching at this church, I will not let error have its way. And I've been able to lay down my stubborn will, let God use me in the way that He would choose. Through this simple experience of just being ready with a testimony each week, it has been thoroughly proven to me that God is our very own consciousness, as dear Bicknell Young wrote. This has been proven to me because each week it is not me who has these things to say. It is our dearest, most loving Father, Mother God who comes to us. A favourite hymn with the words of our dear leader, Mary Baker Eddy, states, quote, "And o'er earth's troubled, angry sea, I see Christ walk and come to me and tenderly, divinely talk." I am very grateful that my Plainfield practitioner encouraged me to make that covenant to God so that I can learn to hear that tender, divine talk better each day. And we are each so incredibly blessed to be here at this church studying this pure divine science of our God. Thank you to our holy practitioners and teachers and workers here. Thank you to all our members around the globe, and so much love to you all.
And now we have a testimony from Phil in Australia.
I'm grateful this week to have been led to be in the right place at the right time. We were catching up with a couple of friends who we hadn't seen for over 6 months, who live in the centre of our city of Melbourne in a tower block about an hour's drive away from us. On this day, my wife and I found ourselves ahead of schedule and ready to leave home earlier than expected. As we were leaving, we received a message that our friends were already at the cafe where we were going to be going for morning tea, as the heating had gone off in their apartment the previous evening, and they'd gone there for some warmth. Our autumn evenings and mornings are quite chilly now, and they were uncertain of what to do. We had a smooth drive in, navigating to avoid traffic delays due to major building works, with the guidance of the one divine mind, and enjoyed listening to the Plainfield Roundtable on the way. We arrived there an hour later and were able to provide moral and practical support. We discussed the situation at some length with the building manager on duty, and with his assistance checked the fuse box in the apartment and reset each one. Then, with his recommendation, booked a professional tradesman for the following day. We were also able to take a tram into the city together and to select and purchase a suitable portable heater as a sensible temporary solution. So not quite the relaxing catch-up that we had planned, as God clearly had us working to do His will, to His plan and timing, and we were very happy to do so, and all were very blessed. This done, we were in the right location and able to make our luncheon appointment with some other dear friends with absolute precise timing and no stress. On later reflection, it struck me what a complete and joyful unfoldment of good it had been, and a demonstration of love in action, meeting the practical needs of our friends and guiding and guarding all of us. Psalms 86, verse 6 and 7 from our lesson last week seems to summarise it well. Quote, "Give ear, O Lord, unto my prayer, and attend to the voice of my supplications. In the day of my trouble I will call upon thee, for thou wilt answer me." End quote. We had seen the answer and blessings manifested. So thanks be to God who was ever with us, to Christ Jesus who showed the way, to Mary Baker Eddy who founded and revealed this Christian Science, and to Plainfield Independent, faithfully carrying the torch of pure Christian Science today. Thank you for the fine readings and all the testimonies tonight.
Thank you. Tom from Iowa, go ahead.
I am truly grateful for false pleasures greatly diminishing in my life. Appetites and passions are being corrected. I am grateful for the lesson on everlasting punishment because it addressed so well this great need. It could seem like a small thing to others, but when this comes to you, it really changes your life for the better. Priorities change, and one thinks more on God and how to better obey Him. Then it's no longer hell or everlasting punishment. I really repeat that I cannot be grateful enough for these character changes and viewpoint, because then you start to look upon everything in a more loving way. Thank you to God for practitioner help, all that this church does, and for those excellent readings. Good night.
Thank you. Nancy.
Thank you so much for those readings on Dominion. And the music was amazing. That organ is awesome to hear it in person. I've been a lifelong Christian Scientist, and I've been so grateful for the ability to have something right at hand when I need it. I could be out in the desert and break my leg. I would have God right there to help me. It is so handy, and I'm just so grateful. I've seen so many healings in my family and in my life, and I'm so grateful for this church and the dedication that everyone has to it. Small but mighty, and that's the Word of God. But I also just wanted to mention that in the readings on dominion, one of the ways I learned about having dominion over the fish of the sea and the fowl of the air, the cattle, and then the creeping things in Genesis, one way I learned was we have dominion over the fowl of the air, which is daydreaming. Fish of the sea is subconscious thinking or thoughts. Cattle is defined as looming latent error. And the creeping things, one of the original translations was fast darting lizards. That's sharp reactive thought. So we have dominion over all of those things, the subconscious, the daydreaming, the latent error, and the sharp reactive thoughts. I have a friend who's got a boyfriend, and he's great, except for one thing she told me. He loses his temper a lot and blows up at things, not at her, but in general. And I said to her, okay, well, calm him down. And she said, well, I've tried, but he just says, well, that's just the way I am. Well, I've learned through Christian Science that we don't have that excuse. That's just the way I am. We don't get that luxury of just sitting on our laurels and moving along and coming to church and thinking we're great. So I just think Christian Science is awesome, and this church is awesome too. And I love everybody in it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mara from Mississippi, go ahead.
Tonight I would like to express my appreciation to all the workers at Plainfield. They're beautiful examples of happy, peaceful, spiritual people attending to God and His purpose. I'm so thankful for the practitioners at this church. We are so blessed to have two at this church that devote their lives to Christian Science and help and teach others. Last week, after taking a walk around the lake, my shoe got caught on a stair leading up to the deck of our house. I tripped and fell. As I fell, I thought about God and how we are taught here to know there are no accidents. My son was with me and felt concerned after I fell, but I quickly got up and told him I was fine. As the day progressed, I started having a severe sharp pain on my left side, especially when I breathed in or put my arm up. It was very uncomfortable to sleep at night as well. I continued to pray to know who I really am, God's spiritual idea made by God. God is only good and can make only good. Although I continued to pray, I still felt the pain. This made it hard for me to complete my daily activities, and people began to notice. A day or so later, I called my practitioner. I told her about the fall and the residual pain that I was feeling. She quickly explained to me that if it wasn't good, it never happened, since God is in charge and makes only good. This really comforted me. She also read to me page 397 in Science and Health by Mary Baker Eddy that states, quote, when an accident happens, you think or exclaim, I am hurt. Your thought is more powerful than your word, more powerful than the accident itself to make the injury real. Now reverse the process, declare that you are not hurt, and understand the reason why, and you will find the ensuing good effects to be in exact proportion to your disbelief in physics and your fidelity to divine metaphysics. Confidence in God as all, which the scriptures declare him to be, end quote. Soon after we ended the call, I sat silently for a moment, thinking about everything we discussed. I felt such a peaceful, happy, comforting feeling. I took a deep breath and realized with happiness that the pain was gone. I was so thankful to God. With my practitioner's prayers and help, I was able to see and feel my spiritual perfection, like God made me and makes us all. The pain disappeared and never returned. I'm so grateful for all that I'm learning. I'm happy to be a part of this meeting tonight. Thank you, Gary, for the inspiring readings. I will definitely listen to them a few more times. Good night.
Thank you. Debbie from Illinois, go ahead.
Thank you. I've been working to perfect my sense of myself as God's child, to know myself as immortal and eternal, not mortal and physical. This wonderful work has resulted in the mesmerism of several physical limitations losing their hold. I am pain-free and have improved mobility. This work has also resulted in my increased reliance on God to control all aspects of my life. Answers I didn't know I needed are provided. Tasks are completed easily with joy, not stress and aggravation. I continue to be very grateful for all of our YouTube videos. Those videos divinely selected for me this week are The Promise of a Better World by Peter V. Ross, A Challenge to the Wrong Thinking of the Ages, Lectures on Christian Science by Peter V. Ross, and Evil Has No Local Habitation from Sermons and Articles by Doris White Evans. I'm very grateful for my practitioner's support and love, and for Christian Science as my way of life. A good evening to all.
Thank you. Tony or Lenny from Georgia, go ahead.
Thanks for those readings tonight, Gary, on Dominion. It made me think about a situation I was just put in recently. We've moved to a new town, and I'm in a new office that we've opened up. In this office, I work for a staffing company, so we send temporary workers into manufacturing environments. And one of these clients that we just signed, we were having some trouble with. There were many incidents and accidents happening, and my boss called me and said he wanted me to start going to the manufacturing plants and warehouses every day and just do some safety walks and just make my presence known there and see what I could do. Now, I've never done anything like that before. I'm in sales and marketing, so I took this as something that was being asked of me, and I would gladly do it. So what I noticed within these manufacturing areas, it's pretty common for people to see them as very stressful. And I found myself very quickly seeing how people, could feel that way, and I could feel that kind of on me as well. And I knew instantly that this was not a reality that I wanted to accept, and it wasn't going to be a healthy attitude for anyone to accept that there was this pressure cooker or stress with all the pedestrians and forklifts and the pressure of trying to get everything done. And also, I don't know if this was a calendar, but it was bloom where you're planted. And I thought, what a great, message for me to keep when I go into this situation. And we also learn in science that we want to radiate love and peace and calm. And so I took all these things with me as I started going into this environment, an environment that was very new to me. And I just loved every situation that I was in. I just tried to radiate that love and that peace. I wouldn't accept that it was a stressful, accident-prone environment. Some of the vendors that we were working with there, they were they didn't seem very forgiving. They didn't. They had some qualities and traits that seemed very hard to work with. But I just kind of refused to accept that God was not being expressed through each and every person, and that only good, principled, harmonious, efficiency had to be present. That just has to be. It's not an option. And I can say now, after about 3 weeks of being in that environment now, sometimes multiple times a day, that situation has turned around. And I was just thinking today, how wonderful it is to have this science. It really brought me in line with what is true, and I held to it. And we have definitely seen improvement now in these situations. And we've also been given several other positions they want us to hire for them. And I felt that was quite a good sign, because there are other staffing agencies in there, but they turned to us and they asked us to find several safety managers for them. And I just took that as a wonderful sign. And in fact, we've already found one, and they're very, very happy with that. So I'm very grateful that the science is just very practical for us, and we have to learn how to apply it in whatever situation that we're put in. And I just love that. Bloom where you're planted. I just, anytime you're put in a situation that you don't know how to respond, you can still bloom and radiate, what's true about God. So thank you all.
Thank you. Sandy from North Carolina, go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Tonight, I don't want to speak about me or situations in my personal life. I want to speak about this wonderful organization named Independent, New Jersey. For the people that are familiar around the world with scientists and the Christian Scientist movement, you know that you have to go to class instruction, and then you have to wait a whole year to talk to your teacher. And this is the one you're going to call when you have a problem. He's your practitioner. I never joined that part. And like the first speaker tonight, he nailed it. And science, the cry, the truth is your protection. And you just listen, because he always talking, the cry. Let him know something was wrong. Instead of paying $900, he pays $6. That's the cry. That's true. Independence, New Jersey, have put a smile on my face on Monday, because I came to the realization that I don't have to go to class instruction or every year to get to learn. You guys have the round table. This is powerful. If people would know the work that these two practitioners have to do to prepare for the round table, not only attending to supporting people with their prayer work during the week, and on Sunday, the way that the format of the service is the way Ms. Maribel intended, because we have a little bit the talking, Ms. Maribel refreshing us that we go into the service. What a wonderful organic. If people will know, I have a couple Christian Scientist friends in my area that I said, you need to come to Independence, because you don't have to wait. You got it there. And then you guys have that website. We don't have to wait for the lectures once or twice a year in our location, because this is a story. This is a long life learning. And what Independence, New Jersey has done is dedicate every day to help the world. That's what Mother Maribel intended. I'm so grateful for all of you. There is no manipulation, no authoritarian. It's free. like Miss Mary Beth say, but we have to do the tower wash, and we have so many blessings that you guys have. I don't know how you guys come out with all of this in such a short period of time, and you don't get to know everywhere. I'm sorry, the Mother Church, they are my member too, but I prefer Independence, New Jersey. It's just a fun, it's blessing, it's good, and it's dynamic, and it helps the first speaker every Wednesday night. He said, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful. I'm like, I'm with you. Thank you so much for your reading to let us know who we are, children of God, Gary, and bless for all of you around the world. You have found a place of peace and happiness in Independence, New Jersey. Good night.
Thank you. Linda.
Thank you very much for the readings tonight. They were very powerful and beautiful. I want to express my gratitude for all that's offered here at Plainfield for our growth so that we may have a closer walk with God. I'm grateful for the testimony meetings and often found that I can use the ideas or remember the healings during my challenges, and I find it uplifting. Recently, I found myself faced with a schedule conflict that I had no control of. It was potentially going to interfere with my church work. I worked with my practitioner and she talked to me about being in my right place and at the right time. Over the weeks, I would almost witness daily examples of restoration to right place, just holding to this promise given to me to work with by her, that God decreed one right place, and nothing can take you from that place. One situation was corrected despite the red tape, and the person was restored to the right place. I use this promise daily in my prayers and during our weekly watches. The result in my situation was my schedule conflict dissolved and opening the way for God's plan and time for church work. I was so humbled and deeply grateful for this experience and lessons learned and my practitioner's prayers. I'm very grateful for this Christian Science given us by Mary Baker Eddy, who sacrificed so much so that the world could have this healing truth in Christ Jesus and this faithful church. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig.
Thank you. Glad I'm here, and music is very inspiring and encouraging. And thank you, Gary, for the readings on dominion and everything from Genesis all the way through to Christ Jesus. Very complete and satisfying. And when I love this church, and it offers through Mary Baker Eddy and practitioners and all these exercises and work we have to do for the world, the opportunity to exercise dominion. We have watches during the day and throughout the night that allow people to prove what they've learned, to bless others. It's very satisfying. Could have done lots of things in life, but this is the most satisfying thing. We have a weather committee, which we see the members that work on it and replies from various parts around the world that it is working. People their droughts and are ending, their storms are ceasing and not damaging. It's just good and wonderful. And I thank God that personally, my background is my grandmothers were the tenant farmer. in the South, but they were very self-sufficient people. And when I joined this church, I found out later she had been praying that I be close to God. And she was so happy. I didn't know it until she came visit us one time. Well, coming to church means a lot because you see and you feel something more than anything else, I believe. And when you leave, you have that feeling. You may not fully understand the science, but you have that feeling that God good is working and something great's going on. Well, she got very sick some years later, and everybody, the whole network of her family was saying she was dying. But that wasn't God's plan. So with practitioner support, I went down to see her. And we've been taught that man is God's idea, beloved and perfect. Well, I just took the love that God has given me and told her, Grandma, God's going to show you how much that He loves you. And that she couldn't hardly move. But I felt like I was 11. And I left after a day, came back up north, and I hear from my relatives, Grandma's up. And I was so happy, and everybody's happy and talking about a miracle has happened. And she first had a walker, and then she, very strong and somewhat, I guess, wants to be self-sufficient, threw away the walker after a while, and then sometimes later she had a cane, and she threw away the cane. Her friends would come in, and to my joy, she would tell them some words that I had told her when I thought she was almost unconscious. God wanted to show me how much He loved me. So, but we're loving, and as we learn, and to the point where we can learn more, and we can have dominion. We're more than 11, but we're still 11, and the world's benefited by more of God's love and power in their lives. I thank God for this church and teachings.
Thank you. Florence from Georgia, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary, for the readings tonight and also the music, the hymns as well. I am so grateful to be here tonight. I'm grateful for this reminder from the readings of our dominion from our all-knowing God. I love the commands Jesus gave most of the victims of sickness that He healed, particularly these three. He reminded them of their God-given dominion by telling them to do something before their healing. In John, as was read tonight, take up thy bed and walk. In Matthew, stretch forth thy hand to the man with the withered hand. And in Luke, arise, take thy bed, and go thy way into thine house. I am just so grateful for these as reminders that no matter what is happening, if we turn to God right away, He will remind us of our God-given dominion. And we go on from there. I am so grateful these have helped me so many times in what I do as well as in my own experiences. I thank God. I thank Mary Baker Eddy for bringing this truth to the world. It is so wonderful for anyone anywhere to know that God has given all His children dominion over all the earth. It's wonderful to be here tonight. And thanks for all those who have shared how God has shown them how to come out from the bondage that sickness, sin, and death would have us. I'm grateful to be here again tonight.
Thank you. Mary.
Good evening, everyone. I have a couple things to read tonight. First from Germany. I just listened to your testimonies. That was from last Wednesday. And I am beyond thankful for the lift I feel in my mind. I rejoiced when Imogen spoke about how she used the lockdowns and hardships in Australia to shut down her ranting and complaining. I'm totally on board. God governs his universe perfectly, and when I rant, I suggest otherwise. What an eye-opener, and what beautiful testimonies all in all. Thank you from Germany. And this is someone new from Palo Alto, California. I'm inspired to give this testimony after hearing someone share their experience a few weeks ago about handling a robbery incident while working at a Christian Science reading room. Early in my career as a lawyer, I had been entrusted as an escrow agent to hold certain trade secrets for a new technology, pending a sale from the inventor to a company purchasing them. As it turned out, and unbeknownst to me at the time, a close friend of my former boss, who I'll call John, had unsuccessfully tried to buy the trade secrets from the inventor. I knew John to be a ruthless competitor, but as a young man at the time, I found him to be very charming, strong, and fearless, and I aspired to be like him. However, a couple of months after I'd been entrusted with the trade secrets, John started demanding that I hand them over to him. Of course, I told him I couldn't do that. It was such an absurd request, and it made me angry. I didn't find John so charming anymore. Now I started to think of him as a bad guy. I was inundated with emails from John and his attorney, who was a former prosecutor. It seemed he was trying to extort me with a threat of criminal prosecution. At first I didn't take it seriously because I hadn't done anything wrong, but soon it became clear he was working up an elaborate narrative to claim that I had somehow defrauded him in his bid for the trade secrets, when in fact I had no idea he had even made an offer. The situation had become an absolute nightmare. So I turned to Christian Science. However, my anger was tuning me away from the angel thoughts that had guided me so often throughout my life, as I thought of John as a demon who needed to be cast out. Of course, it wouldn't help me to see him as something other than a child of God. I was literally demonizing him. Once I overcame that falsehood, I was led to see John as a perfect expression of God who was merely under the influence of erroneous thinking, just as I had been in my view of him. One of the passages I read in Science and Health on page 571, which says, "Clad in the panoply of love, human hatred cannot reach you." This hit me like a bolt of lightning. It was clear to me that I needed to replace my angry thoughts about John with actually loving him as a perfect expression of God. At first I didn't know how to do this, but I was led by angel thoughts to consider his path in life with empathy and seek the good in him. I started thinking about his moments of generosity I had witnessed, and I recalled him once giving me advice about not allowing others to manipulate you, which was rather ironic at the time. But I still appreciated the advice because I believe it was sincerely given. And this small seed of gratitude would soon blossom into a truly loving view of him that remains with me today. I still understand he was seeking material wealth and power, but now I could see that it may have been his highest sense of right at the time. And frankly, my attraction to him in the first place was based on my own erroneous thinking about what it means to be strong and fearless. Over the course of a couple of days, I was able to fully separate the erroneous human behavior from his true identity as an expression of divine love. It was only a matter of days after I'd reached this point of clarity and purity in my heart that I received an email from John to tell me he was moving on because this was no longer worth his time. Since that experience, I've had many occasions to clad myself in the panoply of love, with wonderful outcomes every time. I have found this to be the most reliable method for overcoming any form of malicious intent. So thank you very much, everyone, tonight for your testimonies. It's always a privilege to hear how you all are using this science, for our beautiful music, and for the beautiful readings. I loved all of it about dominion, but from unity of good, that man has no underived power, that selfhood is false, which opposes itself to God and claims another father and denies spiritual sonship. Wow. An underived power, and to claim this selfhood apart from God, and you're denying your sonship with the Father. And whether you call him Father, Mother, or Father, Mother, or whatever, he is a benevolent, loving God, and how important it is that we do claim that sonship and maintain our oneness with him. I'm so grateful for all the many lessons I learned by being a member here. And again, thank you all for your beautiful testimonies tonight. And everyone have a good night.
Thank you.